I just say that this chapter killed me? Hey guys, welcome back to the monthly Attack on Titan chapter review. So, I saw spoilers a few days ago and was like, so Eren has a half-brother? Okay, that's cool. But when I read the chapter, so many things went on in my head. The name of Eren's half-brother is the main thing that blew my mind, and wait till you hear it. So, the basis of this chapter is to basically look at what the world outside the walls is like through the eyes of Grisha Yeager, Eren's father. It's a simple concept, so let me just explain in a little more detail. So we start out seeing Eren's dad and his little sister Faye about to go out and watch something, which we later learn is a blimp. Then their mom tells them that they have to put on armbands if they wanted to go outside, and she also warned them not to go outside the walls. And then they go outside and say goodbye to their mother. Nothing too unusual quite yet. So Faye and Grisha leave the house and begin to walk around while watching the blimp fly around in the air. And Grisha also explains how it flies and who is probably flying it. Faye then jumps up and down while waving her arms, calling out to the blimp as it flies over a wall. Then she says that she wondered if she could fly a blimp one day if she became rich enough. But Grisha says that there is no way that they could ever get rich enough to do something like that. Then the blimp actually completely flies over the wall. And the thing is, now we know this takes place outside the walls from the actual series. So at first I wondered what this wall was doing there. But the blimp flies over the wall and Faye's a little bit disappointed. But Grisha begins to pull her by the wrist saying, "Let's go, Faye." He then says that the landing dock for the blimp they were watching is nearby, and that they should go see it. Faye protests, saying that their mother said that they shouldn't go outside the walls. But Grisha refuses and continues pulling her by her wrist, saying, "It's just for a little while." They then walk past guards that yell at them, telling them to wait, and Grisha just brushed it off. So we see Faye and Grisha walking through the town and bumping into a man. They whisper about the two as they walk away, and Faye seems worried. But Grisha says not to let it bother her. Then they make it to the riverbank and climb over it to see the blimp pulling into a shed-looking thing, which I assume is the landing pad that they were wanting to see in the first place. Faye is amazed, saying, "It's so big!" Then they hear a voice asking, "You two, did you see the blimp too?" And Grisha says yes, before realizing that the voices came from two soldiers. He asks if they're from Levelio district, and asks if they have permission to leave. I have no idea how to pronounce the name of that district, so I'm so very sorry, I probably mispronounced it. Grisha frantically looks around for the permission to leave, but says he can't find it. The soldiers then say that they have left the walls without permission and asks them if they know what will happen to them. Faye is scared and keeps hiding behind Grisha. He even protects her by saying that he was the one who dragged her outside and that it wasn't her fault she was out there with him. One of the soldiers then knees Grisha in the stomach, making Faye cry. The other soldier then says that Faye can go home first without Grisha. As Grisha lays on the ground in pain, the guard says that it was a good thing that they were wearing their armbands, or else they would have been killed. Grisha then tries to leave, but the soldier says that he was there to watch the blimp, so he might as well stay there to watch it, go into the barn completely. Grisha then goes home, but Faye wasn't there. And then the next day, her body was found by the river, and two soldiers that were the ones that spoke to them a few days ago came to the Yeager household. The one that had apparently accompanied Faye home says he only accompanied her to Levelio and then left. I still don't know how to pronounce the name of that district. And Grisha thinks to himself the whole time that he knew the soldier was lying and that they were sleeping, not working. The soldier also says something about their ancestors and the Yeager family's situation. Grisha's dad then says that their ancestors were sinners. Grisha then yells that Faye and him hadn't done anything wrong and that they had only been walking around the village. His dad then asks if he wanted to go to heaven with his mother and father that badly. Then he begins to explain what happened with their ancestors. He says that Ymir's people had the power of the Titans and that they decided other citizens were inferior. They stole land, impregnated them to increase their numbers, and more. And this continued on for about 1700 years. And then another kingdom, or soldiers from Mare, which is the name of the place where Grisha lives, started to intervene and even took control of 7 out of their 9 titans and won that 80-year-long Titan war they were in. Now this next part in the chapter was a somewhat big revelation for me because now we might finally know what Ymir's last name is. Her name is Ymir Fritz. But she is their ancestor and had apparently made a deal with the debut of their world to gain the power of the Titans. Then after Ymir's supposed death, her soul was shared amongst the 9 Titans and the kingdom of Elodia was established. They destroyed the evil rulers from Mare and ruled the continent peacefully. After his dad tells them all of this, Grisha feels angry towards his father. He said that he felt so much hate towards him that he felt dizzy. Grisha's dad then keeps explaining that the Jaeger family already suspected the officer and held a grudge against him, and that if a rumor like that got out, they would be punished. He said that all they can do is stay in the ghetto and survive, and asks Grisha if he wants his mother and father to end up like Faye. Then Grisha starts having an internal debate with himself, asking which side was at fault. Himself? The world? Both? He realized that he was ignorant and immature, and that the world was just irrational and crazy. Then his father once again begins to explain more about the Titans. He says that King Fritz, who we know as the one who ruled the walls before Historia took the throne, fled to Parati Island where the rest of the royal family was and built 3 walls around them. But not all of them left, so the rest of the Elodians were left in Mare. They were originally people that could have been justified to be wiped out, but they didn't kill them and let them live. More internal debating comes from Grisha as he says his father was speaking well for someone who had just lost his daughter, and saying that he was almost like a dog the way he followed his master's orders. He then says that the man lied because he didn't want to look bad. He supposedly knew that no one else did and that he definitely killed Faye. But Grisha's father yells at him to shut up. Then both of his parents stare at him. Then it time skips to when Grisha is 18 years old. He was on the path to becoming a doctor and maybe wanting to take over his father's clinic. He is also talking to a patient that asks about how he got his scar. He then says that he knows that Faye was killed by a Mare officer. That he and a group have a person within the Mare government, and said that this person told him this: "If you join us, we will tell you all the details. If you lend your power to the Elodia revivalists." And Grisha does end up joining this group. He then is furious when he finds out what actually happened to his sister and what they did to her. He swore to teach them which side was truly the devil. What their ancestors did was just, and to bring the world back into a balance, the only way was to revive Elodia. The person they had within the Mare government was named Night Owl, and they allowed the group to secretly carry out their activities. They sent the group weapons, money, and historical literature that the Elodians had no way of knowing about. They then are seen to be looking at a drawing, and they are saying that their progenitor Ymir cultivated land, made roads, and built bridges. She brought riches to their people and helped develop the continent. They then say that they knew the history they've learned in school was just the delusions of the Mare, and they could fool idiots, but not them, the true Elodians. One of the members of the group compliments Grisha on being able to interpret the ancient text, but he simply brushed it off, saying that he couldn't even understand any of it. Then the other guy asks how he knew the truth, and Grisha just simply shouts that he believes in Ymir, and that they were the chosen children of her. Then, the person guarding the door of their meeting place shouts that Night Owl has sent someone. The person speaks, saying hello, and that she was honored to meet with many of her fellow countrymen. She then says her name is Dana Fritz and that she was of royal lineage. Grisha then says that he left his body in the hands of fate. There were apparently people from the royal family who rejected the idea of fleeing to the island and stayed on the continent where Mare is. Dana was their only remaining descendant. The royal family had apparently been waiting for the day when Elodia would rise again, and they were laying low with the knowledge of the royal family's special titan. Grisha then explains that King Fritz's titan power is within the walls and that it was the key to Elodia's revival. The progenitor titan could control all of their titans, and they say that if they had the power that the progenitor titan has, they could defeat Mare again. Then one of the group members asks why King Fritz fled to the island, and Dana replies with, it was because he just didn't want to fight. Sounds like a certain douchebag I know. The Titan War had started when the 145th king inherited the power of the progenitor Titan, and until that point, 8 clans had been fighting against each other continuously. Despite all of that fighting, the royal family would always be able to restore peace using the power of the progenitor Titan. But the 145th king ignored his duty and fled to the island, which some of the royal family didn't agree with, and so they became separated and stayed on the continent where Mare is. Dana says that the miserable times they were in started when the king had turned his back to the fight. Grisha then decided that they would fight back, that they would retrieve the progenitor Titan's power from inside the walls. Then he gives a somewhat motivational speech, saying that they will return the power of the progenitor Titan to the royal family and restore Elodia's pride. Grisha then looks at Dana and then says in his mind, "We married the following year and had a son together." Now this is the part of the chapter that made me just, lose my mind. The name of the son that Dana and Grisha had together was Zeke. Now this means that Zeke's last name is Jaeger. His full name is Zeke Jaeger. Yeah, my brain died too. And the next page isn't too important, so we're skipping it. Then we see the whole town gathered in one place with some officers shouting at them. It's about them recruiting soldiers from Mare from the so-called Ymir's people, and that King Fritz had made a statement saying that soon Elodia would rule the world and return the continent to the horrors of the past. In order to destroy that ambition, they were going to elect people from each ghetto each year to prepare for it. They say the soldiers they will be choosing are going to be between the ages of 5 and 7. The chosen warriors were only going to be a select few in order to make sure that they were a good match for the power of the 7 titans that they possess. The families of the warriors would be named honorary Mare citizens and enjoy freedom in the land, yada yada yada. The groups of people that want Elodia to rise again, I don't have a name for them yet, meet and start discussing about what the officers had said earlier that day. They ask questions such as, has King Fritz declared war? And responding with different things such as, no, that is very difficult to believe. Then Night Owl sends them a message saying, the reason why the Mare government has started to make a move is to prepare for the inevitable battle for natural resources. As you know, recently, military technology has developed at an alarming rate. There will soon become a day when the power of the 7 titans that allowed Mare to rule is no longer absolute. Times will change to that of military power as a result of the demand for fuel. Parati Island, which has enormous deposits of fossil fuels, will no longer be something we can ignore. However, conquering Parati Island is no easy task. Although nothing has been heard of King Fritz, who hides behind the walls. He left these words 80 years ago. If you interfere with us again, the tens of millions of titans hidden inside the walls will flatten the earth. After Grisha finished reading the note, he says, as long as this threat exists, no one can openly attack. Therefore, the Mare government's aim, like us, is to invade the walls without provoking King Fritz and to reclaim the power of the progenitor titan. Then the group members start chattering, saying, what should we do? If this carry on, our plans will be overtaken by the Mare within a few years. If that happens now, we'll never see the bright light of Elodia. Then Grisha says that there is still one way that they can revive Elodia. He says that they will make their son Zeke a mere soldier. And he says, like that, I entrusted the pride of Elodia to my son, as well as making him become a soldier who declared his loyalty to the enemy. I wonder if I was still just an immature child, like on that day. Then, when Zeke turned 7 years old, he informed the Mare government about his parents' secret activities, and all of the Elodia revivalists were sent to heaven. Grisha and Dana would be turned into Titans who would endlessly wander around Parati Island. Oh my god. So, my original hypothesis before this chapter was that Zeke was a smith because he looked a lot like Erwin's father. But now I know that I was wrong, and in fact, Zeke's real name is Zeke Yeager, and that he is Aaron's half-brother. When I figured this out, my mind just blew up with tons of questions like, how? Why did Grisha marry Carla? But all I am glad to know now is that we know Zeke's last name and where Grisha came from, as well as what it was like to live outside the walls. This chapter has answered many questions, but still leaves many unanswered as well. Anyways, guys, that is it for this month's review of the Attack on Titan chapter, and I am so sorry this is later than usual, but I do hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye!